7, and then here back at, what, like 3.5, I guess? I don't know. Anyway, that lands us at Rogue One, which is sure to be full of all sorts of Easter eggs and will hopefully answer some questions for us. So today we're running down our top 10 things to look for in Rogue One. Let's just get right into it. Number 10, the Wilhelm Scream. The Wilhelm Scream, if you are not familiar with it, is an audio Easter egg prevalent in any movie and sounds like this. It can show up in pretty much any movie at any time, but I bring it up in this video because to date it has been used in every single Star Wars movie, and I expect to hear it again in Rogue One. I'm not exactly sure where we'll hear it, but if I had to guess, I would say probably a dying stormtrooper. Number 9. I've got a bad feeling about this. Not this entry, that's actually what it is. The phrase, I've got a bad feeling about this.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
This phrase has been used in every single Star Wars movie thus far.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It has kind of become the A113 or Pizza Planet truck of the Star Wars universe.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I would personally recommend very, very loud applause and cheering when you hear it.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Number 8. Losing an arm. Now, it's possible this one might not happen, but I'll tell you what. Star Wars loves cutting people's arms off. Most famously, of course, is when Luke loses his hand to Darth Vader at the end of The Empire Strikes Back. But that is actually the second time someone loses a limb in that movie, because Luke cuts off a Wampa's arm earlier in the film. You see it again in A New Hope when Obi-Wan cuts off the man at the bar's arm, and in Return of the Jedi when Luke returns the favor and cuts off Vader's hand. As for the prequels, The Phantom Menace kind of screws things up, as usual, but instead of anyone losing their arms, Darth Maul loses both of his legs. In Attack of the Clones, Anakin loses his arm for the first time to Count Dooku, and then in Revenge of the Sith it just gets crazy with Count Dooku, General Grievous, and Mace Windu all losing arms, and then Anakin really taking the cake by losing all of his limbs at once. Now that's dedication right there. The newest movie, A Force Awakens, is actually the first to break this trend altogether with nobody losing a limb, although it is implied that C-3PO got a new arm because, you know, he has a red arm, and I'm still wondering what on earth happened to it. We need an explanation. In any case, be on the lookout for someone's limbs to go missing in Rogue One. My bet is that it comes at the hands of Darth Vader. And number 7, Clone Wars characters. What you may not realize is that Forrest Whitaker's character from Rogue One, Saw Gerrera, is actually a returning character from Star Wars Clone Wars, the animated series that aired on Cartoon Network. The entire series is available on Netflix. He appears in 4 episodes in season 3, but the important thing is that he is the first character to appear first in the animated series and then be brought to life in a live-action movie, which opens the door for an even more important character to make an appearance: Ahsoka Tano. Seriously, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, I highly recommend it. It is so good. Ahsoka, if you don't know, is Anakin's fan favorite Padawan from the show. And it would be awesome if they found a way to get her into this movie. I mean, they need somebody to fight Vader, right? None of them are Jedi, and who would be better than Vader's previous apprentice? And it just so happens that on IMDb, there is an actress, Eunice Olamide, who is missing a character name. She's built fairly low, but just look at her. She could totally pass for Ahsoka. Number 6, C-3PO and R2-D2. You know, it's kind of weird calling these two Easter eggs, but oddly, C-3PO is the only character to have speaking lines in all 7 Star Wars movies. Well, unless you count R2's beeping also. Oh my gosh. What if Star Wars is actually not about Darth Vader, but C-3PO? In any case, we know that the Death Star plans, which is what they're trying to steal in this movie, eventually end up with R2-D2, who is accompanied by C-3PO at the beginning of A New Hope. Therefore, even though we haven't seen either of them in the trailers, I would bet they at least make a cameo, even if they don't have any speaking lines, at the very end of Rogue One. Number 5, Vader kicking ass. I mean, that probably goes without saying, but here's what I mean. We know that Vader survives through the end of this movie, which to me means that he's basically just going to be invincible. Seriously, we haven't seen the Man in Black on the big screen since 2005, and honestly, that wasn't a very good memory. No! My thoughts exactly, Darth. My thoughts exactly. But Rogue One takes place during Vader in his prime. Like, we've really never seen him just like in the middle of a battle. He normally just like shows up at the end for the big lightsaber fight, but I think this will be a great opportunity to show us why it is everyone else is so afraid of Vader. Like, I would love to see him come into a battle where the rebels were winning until Vader enters, and just his presence single-handedly turns the tide of the battle and things just start going super wrong for the good guys. But speaking of the Empire and famous evil fathers, number 4. Jyn's family. Jyn Erso's parents are Lyra and Galen Erso. Her mother, Lyra, is almost definitely going to die. I say this just because the actress portraying her is 4 years younger than the actress portraying Jyn. And I mean, I know it's Hollywood, so the ages don't necessarily matter. They can make people look different ages, but honestly, come on, what kind of Star Wars movie would this be if some parents didn't die? I know I would be upset. Her father, Galen? I'm going to Galen. Galen is known for his research on kyber crystals, which are force-sensitive crystals that power lightsabers, and possibly the Death Star's giant, planet-destroying death ray. So we know he's going to be working on the, death half of the Death Star, and he's played by Mads Mikkelsen, who, let's face it, just looks like a bad guy. But the question is he? Even in the trailer, he says,
Jyn, whatever I do it to protect you.
But that's all point of view, isn't it? I mean, is he going to be working for the Empire against his will? Or is he going to be trying to convince Jyn to join him and the Empire? I guess that all just remains to be seen. But possibly even more important than the family members we do know about are the family members we don't know about. Because let's face it, Star Wars is a family affair, and Jyn has just got to be related to somebody. Right? Now, the obvious theory is that she's Rey's mother because, the brown hair, the timing is right, both abandoned on planets, they both have the accent, but honestly, that just seems way too easy, if you ask me. Number 3, the Vader dilemma. Okay, so quick backstory on Jyn's family. During the Clone Wars, her family was abducted by the Separatists, or the droid army, just like the bad guys. But they were rescued by Orson Krennic of the Galactic Republic, which of course eventually became the Galactic Empire. But here's the twist. Krennic is the guy we've been seeing in the trailers sporting the awesome white cape, and is supposed to be the main villain of Rogue One. To me, he is like a perfect example of just how sneaky Palpatine was. Because during the Clone Wars, Krennic was working for, who we would have considered to be the good guys, but after the war is over, we sort of learned that there were no good guys because Palpatine was controlling both sides. So Krennic just sort of kept doing his same thing, it's just that his new boss turned out to be the bad guy. As such, I am thinking Krennic is going to be faced with a very similar dilemma as Vader was at the end of Return of the Jedi. Either help his old friend and surrender the plans for the Death Star, or side with the Emperor. Either way, I bet he dies. In fact, number 2, everyone will die. The trailer makes it look like this elite team of rebels will be the people responsible for stealing the Death Star plans, and we know they are successful. But oddly, we don't see any of these heroes again in any other movies. Why? Because they're all going to die. But not before, number 1, Leia's ship. Not before they deliver the plans to Leia's ship. One of the first things any Star Wars fan ever sees is that tiny ship at the beginning of A New Hope being chased by this giant Star Destroyer. Star Destroyers look like. How that ship got in that position is never really explained, but I'm betting Rogue One backs right up into the beginning of A New Hope, with Jyn just handing the plans over to Leia and them not making a very clean getaway. I think the Empire is going to be hot on their tail because, I mean, that's why the Star Destroyer is there. They know the plans have been stolen the moment they're stolen. But there you go. That is our top 10 things to look for in Rogue One. What other Star Wars characters or references do you hope to see in the movie? Let us know in the towel section down below. Also, the SCB December Giveathon continues, so make sure you are following us on Instagram. Appropriately, today we are giving away a pop vinyl of Jen Erso, so make sure you're following us on Instagram and like each of our photos so you're entered to win.
These socks are amazing!
And a special thanks to these patrons who support Super Carlin Brothers on Patreon. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, please like this video if you haven't already and subscribe so you don't miss any future Star Wars content from us. If you want to see our top 7 unanswered questions from Star Wars The Force Awakens, you can check out this video right here, or